Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Will and welcome to Copper Jacket TV. So I want to start off by giving a huge shout out to Chuck, Michelle, and everybody over there at the CRPA for their incredible work. Today we got a huge victory in the state of California. This is probably the biggest victory that we've had in at least 10 years out of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is something that we don't get to say very often. As you all know, the Ninth Circuit tends to side with the state and we kind of get left out in the dirt. But this time we actually got a massive Second Amendment victory. So we need to talk about what happened today in the case of Rhode v. Bonta. Now, it doesn't matter what state you're in, New York, California, or any other state in between. If you're somebody who carries to defend yourself, make sure you check out the main sponsor of this channel, which is Attorneys on Retainer. With an Attorneys on Retainer membership in your back pocket, it's like having an attorney in your back pocket. If you're carrying and even if you have something in your home for your own defense, and heaven forbid you need to defend yourself, you could still be the one that ends up in handcuffs. But with that Attorneys on Retainer membership, you call the number on the back of the card, you talk to an actual attorney giving you instant attorney-client privilege, and they will be there to defend you through the entire process. They have an incredible program, online education, training, civil liability coverage, red flag coverage, and so much more. So if you guys are interested, go ahead and check out the link down below, and I'll also have some discounts down there for you as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about what's going on here with this massive victory in Rhode v. Bonta. Now, we've been talking about this case on this channel for a long time. If you're a long-time follower, you know that. I decided to scroll through and see when I made my first Rhode video, and it was nearly 6 years ago. So that should give you some sort of idea as to how long these cases take in the state of California. Between the judicial activism, the politics of it all, the delay tactics, it takes a while to get any sort of resolution. So with that being said, what is Rhode v. Bonta? Well, Rhode is a case that challenged California's unconstitutional ammo scheme. The same scheme that had you doing a background check for every single transaction and paying either now a $5 fee or a $19 fee. The same scheme that said nothing can be sent to your home because everything has to go through an FFL. You can't even drive into the state with it first. It has to go to a vendor or an FFL. The background check has to then be conducted and the fee has to be paid. This is a challenge to that. And the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, three-judge panel, just found that that law is in fact unconstitutional on its face. Now, this case originally started at the district court level with Judge Roger T. Benitez, also known as St. Benitez to some in California, for his decisions in cases like Duncan and many others, including this one, where Judge Benitez found that, in fact, California's ammo scheme was unconstitutional and placed a permanent injunction against its enforcement. California obviously didn't like that very much, and so they appealed to the Ninth Circuit. A stay was placed against that permanent injunction while the case moved forward, and today the three-judge panel that ruled in favor of the plaintiffs and against California simply affirmed Judge Benitez's original order granting that permanent injunction. Now, the three-judge panel that came out with this opinion today, and it's a pretty long opinion. If you include the dissent, it's about 79 pages long, but the three judges were Bybee, Ikuda, and Bade. The dissenting judge, kind of no surprise here, was Judge Bybee. Now, we can see right away in the very beginning of the summary, Second Amendment, affirming the district court's grant of a permanent injunction, the panel held that California's ammunition background check regime, which requires firearm owners to complete background checks before each purchase, facially violates the Second Amendment. Now, I read over this document a few times this morning so that I could summarize it for you. If you want more in-depth detail, I'll put a link to the actual document down below so you can read it for yourself. But basically what they say is that they first have to follow the Bruen framework, right? So is the text of the Second Amendment implicated? And yes, it's obviously implicated because in order to have a working arm, you have to have what feeds it, right? And so the text is implicated. That means that you have to move on to the next step. You have to look for a historical analog that is somewhat similar, but not exactly the same as the law as it stands today in order to validate today's law. Now, that burden shifts to the defendants in this case. So the state of California is the one that has to find these historical analogs. And the analogs that California came up with were pretty much just outlandish BS. They didn't really have anything to do with the law that they were trying to uphold. And so the court saw right through that and basically defeated every single one of those analogs throughout this entire document. Every single argument that California had that said that this law was similar, that law was similar, was shot down. Some of them were even shot down just for the fact that they came too late after the Reconstruction era, and so they weren't really even considered. Now, the big question is, what's going to happen to the law and what's going to happen next? Well, I'm sure that a vast majority of the comments in the comment section have already figured it out. I know I have some of the smartest subscribers here on YouTube, and you guys know what you're talking about. This is more than likely going to be stayed pending a review en banc. Okay, that means that as for right now, we're just kind of in a hold pattern while we wait to see if they stay it and then appeal for an en banc review. So en banc is basically where you go from the 3-judge panel to a majority panel of the Ninth Circuit. Unlike other circuit courts that have, smaller territories, the Ninth Circuit is so big that there's actually too many judges to put everybody on the bench for a review like this. So again, it's a majority of the judges. Now, the thing is, if you're probably asking yourself, then why are we getting so excited? Why are we excited that this is a win, or why are we supposed to be excited? And I'll tell you why. That's because we could be going into the same thing, but it could be us asking for an en banc review, which they don't have to grant. They can always deny an en banc review, right? This could be us saying that we think that they got it wrong, and this has got to be our argument as to why it needs to be fixed, and so forth. But instead, it's California that has to ask for this review because they lost at the district court level, because they lost at the 3-judge panel at the Ninth Circuit level, right? They have lost all the way going up to an en banc review. And so that gives us a lot more wiggle room and a lot more grace should they decide to accept this on en banc review. That is a great thing. That is a big victory. It's a huge boost to this case, even if it does go en banc. Now, that's not to say that we're going to win en banc. As you know, the Ninth Circuit is notorious for twisting words and being activists and coming up with whatever decision they want, and typically siding with the state of California. They might lean on the dissent in this case from Bybee. Bybee had a pretty long, like 20-plus page dissent, but thankfully, Judge Ikuda, who is the one that authored the opinion, actually addressed Bybee's dissent in her opinion and basically shot it right out of the sky. So that, I think, is something to take into consideration as well. I personally think that we actually have a pretty decent chance of winning this, even if we go en banc. I don't think there's any way to get around it. But if we lose, we'll see at the Supreme Court. I wanted to let you guys know about that. It's a very exciting victory that you just don't hear about very often from the Ninth, but we've been hearing it a lot more than we have in the past, I can tell you that much. So I want to thank you all very much for watching. If you haven't done so already and you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing. It's free. It only takes a second, but it really helps us out here quite a bit. Check out my other videos as well. Y'all have a great day.